Another day, another disgrace for Marvel. The Marvels in general has been a cataclysmic disaster, and the longer this goes on, the less money it makes and the more hilarity that ensues. And what we found out here is it's out here breaking another round of records. Congratulations! It's just not the ones that you were anticipating on breaking. Marvel's shatters another MCU record, posts the worst first Monday box office gross in MCU history. Yeah, it's actually like really terrible. In fact, it's like not even just bad for in a Marvel context, okay? Because you took a look over the weekend, the domestic box office ended up shaking out with its actuals being at $46.1 million, which back in the cut and with a lower budget would be a hell of a good return for some films. But when you factor in that the Marvels ended up costing Disney and the MCU somewhere north of $300 million in production, and then another additional 150 in marketing, you realize that $47 million, yeah, that ain't good. That ain't good. You're working at about, what, 10, 12% of what you ended up putting down? Yeah, this thing, man, I thought this before, and I just kind of threw it out there, but is it going to crack $250 million? It's really shaping up, okay, because quite possibly the biggest bomb, one of the most expensive movies ever, The Flash, came out earlier this year. I know, right? It's been a whirlwind. It's been a roller coaster of events in Hollywood, but that was thought to have been the biggest bomb of the year. It didn't even crack, or it just barely cracked 300 million. By every conceivable metric, the Marvels is going to underperform that. Check this out. The Marvels continues to break records, and I don't know what's wrong with Bounding Into Comics. Their site broke or some shit like that, so you got this fucking banner running, so whatever. The Marvels continues to break records with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but not in the way Walt Disney Company and Marvel Studios would like. According to Exhibitor Relations Company, and then also you could take a look at Box Office Mojo to go ahead and verify that. It's just nice to have a different background every once in a while. The Marvels only grossed $2.4 million in its first Monday at the domestic box office. Some people had Monday off for Veterans or Remembrance Day, depending on where you're at. $2.4 million. No other competition in the box office. That is fucking abysmal. $1 million Club Monday. That's the only thing that turned out. The Marvels, $2.4 million. In comparison, the Eternal, the low watermark, the one that everybody wants to kind of forget, came out in Phase 4, did $4.2 million on its first Monday. This is bad. This is really fucking bad, guys. $2.4 million Monday gross continues a weekend of declining grosses for the film. The numbers previously reported, the film grossed $21.6 million on Friday. Covered that as well. Then declined to 15.2 on Saturday, and Sunday, $9.2 million. A decline from Sunday to Monday is 74%, which is tracking along the exact same lines as The Eternals and as Ant-Man Quantumania, both seen as terrible disasters for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And that's where we're at, guys. You don't believe me? Here's the numbers. Yes, for comparison, The Incredible Hulk, the original lowest grossing MCU film, back when it wasn't even the MCU, that it was the second film released in what they now consider to be continuity, but it was just an original standalone movie. Maybe we'd build to something if all of these things ended up shaking out as well. And yeah, the Incredible Hulk film didn't quite work out as well as Iron Man, but we'll see what happens with Thor, and maybe we'll build to something in a few years, because that came out, yes, in 2008. The first Avengers didn't come out until 2011 or 2012, so 3 to 4 years later. Then they started to figure some stuff out. So yeah, it only grossed $6 million on its first Monday, which even back in 2008, we don't even need to adjust for inflation, is nigh on 3 times more than the Marvels, with no competition. No competition at all. Ant-Man in 2015, another one of those underperforming but still ended up turning a profit films in 2015, grossed $6.4 million on its first Monday. Looking at more recent comparisons, Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania grossed $14.2 million, so just a slight bit off its opening or I'm sorry, its previews, $15 million previews, $16 million previews. So yeah, actually not all that bad. And Guardians of the Galaxy, which ended up coming out right after the disaster that was Quantum Mania, ending up taking a hit with $8.9 million. But then that ended up being the best performing film of the year for Disney. Like, without a doubt, beyond a shadow of a doubt, because it had good word of mouth. Was it a good film? I hadn't seen it. I heard conflicting reports on it. So yeah, enough people went and continued to go see it, and it made north of $800 million. Something that the Marvels isn't going to do, mostly because you're never going to get that good word of mouth about this. Nobody, universally, across the board, the best thing that you're going to get is, it's a fun romp. But when you have people actually go and see that stuff and review it, oh my God, it's just an abortion of filmmaking. Nobody ever should go and see this stuff. It is bouncing around in the basement. It's either, okay, is it Thor Love and Thunder? Is it Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness? Is it the Marvels? Like, which is the actual worst? Or the worst one? And a lot of people are unironically, not even with recency bias, saying that the Marvels is the worst individual, like, standalone film. Even if it wasn't a part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, you go ahead and you interchange all of those characters, it's still a bad movie. It's a hacked up movie with terrible editing choices, a terrible plot, a terrible villain, and unlikable characters. But instead of having this being a moment of self-reflection, we know, and we talked about this about a couple of weeks ago when Gina Carano put on blast Kathleen Kennedy, but it also goes to serve that this would be the same practice for Marvel, considering they're both under the Disney umbrella, that the bot army, the shills, are going to be out there to tell you that no. The Marvels isn't a bad movie, you're just sexist. The cope is so strong this time around, guys. It's almost amazing, but it's going to be very interesting once we dig into some of the numbers, because more of the numbers that I was looking for, and now we're just waiting for how poor is it going to do over the next weekend. What's the drop-off going to look like from there? Well, we kind of got the breakdown as to who is seeing this. So the Marvels movie tanks at the box office. The media blames sexism. Very interesting until you count those ticket stubs and realize that, oh God, that's not how sexism's supposed to work, not even the Borked attempt to use the word that the media would normally wield it with. The Marvels hit the theaters over the weekend with a distinct honor of having the Marvel Cinematic Universe's worst all-time opening weekend at the box office. The all-women led film featuring women superheroes combating a female villain has been criticized, with many saying that the female-forward film's failure, that's a lot of alliteration right there, is due to it starring 3 women. No. If it was well written, okay, again, hate to trot out these hacky responses, but if it was written well, if the characters were likable, relatable, made sense, people would go and see it. It might have had a poor opening weekend, and then it could have just continued, and, maybe some people would have picked up steam if they didn't have anything to do through the rest of the week, or maybe into next week, and then you would have seen that rebound and not so much of a drop-off. But no, it really doesn't have much to do with the women that are there. It's just the characters that they're portraying. And maybe their individual performances themselves, but it has nothing to do with them being women. It's more so much the talent on display and the characters being poorly written for them. Brie Larson, Teyonah Parris, and Iman Vellani led the film to box office disaster as it grossed $47 million. The picture was expected to bring in well over that and had a budget of over $300 million. Yeah, that was all the way through September of last year, so yeah, it's going to be north of that, okay, once it's all said and done. Deadline had projected $140 million. Yeah, and then it ended up with 109. Not quite the same. That was for global opening weekend, but just barely missed that. It was intended as a sequel to Brie Larson's Captain Marvel, but then after audience backlash, which also they like to pawn off as just simple sexism, bigotry, all of those ists and phobes that they could go ahead and throw out there, they just decided, that Captain Marvel character, people don't like her, so if we just go ahead and throw her in an ensemble, we can just go ahead and double, quadruple, quintuple down on girl power. Fuck it, we'll just go in all whole hog, because that'll resonate here in 2016. Oh wait, it's 2023 and everybody's kind of done with us playing that card. Fuck. Film's casting choices earn the reputation of being woke. Nah, they're characters, man, okay? And that's the only time that they ever get anything right. Like, Carol Danvers is a white lesbian. Mon Vellani is a Pakistani Canadian, and well, I don't know if she is, but Kamala Khan is supposed to be that racial makeup. And then Photon, okay, Monica Rambeau, supposed to be a black lady. So you got that right. So funny, they want to get those things right, but they don't want to get other particulars all that source accurate, because you know it doesn't matter until it matters for the characters that you want to properly portray. Anyways, film is in a long line of recent disappointments for Disney. Oh, we'd be here all day if we were going to list them out just from 2023. It's bad, guys. Disney's executive vice president of theatrical distribution, Tony Chambers, said that the low box office numbers may have to do with audiences thinking that they have seen the Disney Plus films, and that they have to see the Disney Plus films in order to know what's going on with the film. But according to Mahler, who I'll go ahead and cite on this, yeah, it actually makes your viewing experience of the Marvels even more convoluted and worse. So yeah, no, that's kind of weird, because again, you've got this problem with Disney and Marvel just putting out disparate opinions, okay, and putting out disparate marketing, rather, not knowing exactly what you're going to get with the Marvels. The different tonal shifts when it comes to the trailers, like the first couple, they were all goofy, wacky. Oh, this is just going to be a fun team up movie, girl power, it's going to be so much fun. And then the final one that got released for the big push right at the beginning of opening weekend, well, that one was far more serious. And oh, do you remember those really popular superheroes and Thanos? Oh yeah, that was back when we were at the height of our powers. Carol Danvers was there the entire time. Come and see our very serious movie that is definitely analogous to the problems that we faced in Endgame, when in actuality, it was just a dumpster fire, okay? It began with a fucking recap to catch you up on who the fuck Miss Marvel is, because most of the people don't subscribe, or at least if they did subscribe to Disney Plus, no longer, because they continue to hemorrhage subscribers like they're the fucking Washington Post. And Ms. Marvel, her D Plus series, it was the lowest viewed Marvel series across the board. They even tried to put it on ABC. They put it on fucking broadcast and network television, and it only drew like 300,000 viewers when it was on television, for Christ's sakes. Like, nobody knows who this chick is, so you decide to put her front and center at one of your big tentpole films to cap off the year, your 100th anniversary Disney, and you go, who the fuck am I supposed to know this bitch? Like, the fuck are we doing? We know the film is resonating with female audiences. Oh, we're going to keep the pressure up and fight the good fight, he said. That's very interesting, because you break all of this stuff down, and we finally got the demographics, which I thought would be very important to point out. Other diagnostics on the Marvels, 65% male leaning. Huh. So you have an overwhelming amount of men turning out for this, but it's the men's problem, because the men didn't turn out to it's almost like you had a bad film with unlikable characters that didn't entice the normies that you used to be able to just herd in with a simple Marvel logo on whatever poster you were hoping to push in the theaters. No. That's just not working anymore, because you turned on that fucking sewage hose that was Phase 4, sprayed it in everybody's face, and then just opened up the clean water drinking hose that was Phase 5. Not even saying that those films are any better than Stage 4. But you're out there promising, oh no, don't worry guys, it's going to get better from here. And you're wondering why nobody's turning out, why your films are bombing. 45% of men over 25, 22% of women over 25, giving it the best grade at 82%. So yeah, the women are turning out. 1 in 5 ticket buyers, okay, but at least they're rating the film very good. Men under 25 at 20%, and women under 25 at 14%. Biggest demographic was 25 to 34 at 33%. Diversity demos were 36% white, 27% Latino and Hispanic, 17% black, and 14% Asian. According to Deadline, yeah, guys, wasn't really the men's fault. So your whole idea of sexism, normally just trying to lay it at the feet of, oh my God, those basement dwelling white guys that just live to hate strong, empowered women online. They're the ones who turned out to your film. So how are you going to go ahead and square that circle? No, they're just going to once this thing ends its cinematic run, they're just going to go ahead and put it in a little box, okay, tape it up nice, never to be released ever again. Just put it right in the back of the Disney vault. Ain't nobody going to be wanting a physical release of this fucking abomination. Don't know what they're going to end up doing with it other than just using it as a learning opportunity. Maybe, potentially. Nah, we talking Marvel, aren't we? So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.